Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a beautiful audience to be with today. My presentation today looks at nothing beyond what has already been spoken about, but it's just a different way of expressing my views. So the topic is crew welfare, and I'm trying to explore if we are on the right track with the idea. When I started to think about this topic, I thought, why not have a definition first of all? That would be the first step to move forward with the presentation. So I looked at the Oxford Dictionary. It tells me the welfare means the health and happiness as well as the fortunes of a person or group. So today we discuss a lot about all these elements, health, happiness. We did not talk about fortunes as such, but that remains a very important element of welfare. Going to the next slide, I have listed some of the items which are already discussed today by the previous panelists. And it's a lot that we have done for the seafarers' welfare over the period of time. I can recollect my own days and share some of the incidents with you or small interesting parts. Even if I look at recreational facilities, there were none. Some of the ships used to have a TV. About the hygienic sanitary facilities, some of them mentioned there are no ladies' toilets on board today. Well, I sailed on ships where there was only one toilet on one floor, 25 people on board. So even the master had to use a shared toilet. So we have progressed a lot. About the hygiene, I would also remember how we used to wash our boiler suits because there was no laundry on board. So many of the crew, they would tie up their boiler suits and leave them in the sea. When the ship was moving, it would get washed. That was the scenario on board those days. About the training and education, when I retired from my sailing days in 2009, I had all of 7 certificates in hand. The cadet who joined the ship, he had 33 certificates. Well, I don't know if it made him more competent than the master, but that's how the industry has progressed. Somehow I feel a lot of good things have happened. A lot of things have fizzled out as well. So we'll look at some of the slides here and discuss in brief how we can probably have a critical view of things which have progressed over the years. So when I look at this slide again, there are a variety of things which I would like to point out to the audience and have their views towards the end. There are regulations. Some of the speakers mentioned that the regulations are there for the upliftment of the crew on board, for their safety and well-being on board. There is training, there's documentation after the ISM code especially. Then there's a rest and work hour regime by MLC. And there are lots of inspections to make sure that the ships are seaworthy and not substandard. Now the question is, have we really succeeded in what we aimed for? Or it has just become a paperwork? Regulations, I think there are far too many. Shore leave, again, a questionable thing. Work and rest hour, even Apo was mentioning. How do we manage this? So one by one, we'll have a look at the preceding slides. This was what you were mentioning, Apo, about the safe manning. Basically, I have my doubt about safe manning, same as many of you. 3 ABs and an OS makes it safe for the deck department to operate on a tanker vessel, or 3 engineers and a motorman in the engine room. I don't think this is safe anyway. Well, people can have their own perceptions. There are commercial pressures, of course. The vessels have to meet the challenges of completing the cargo on time, depart. The burning question is, does it remain only on paper or the operators, managers, ports, they take a call. I mean, I was asking this question earlier. Will it be a point where IMO stands up and says, okay, after completion of cargo, every ship must be given a time of 6 hours before sailing, or operators take this stand themselves? I don't think they will do it. So what is the way forward? That's a question. Work and rest hours also reminds me of an incident. I mean, I was auditing a oil major ship. I was a third-party auditor. The vessel was in Australia. The AMSA inspector came on board and he asked to show the rest hour records. He found nothing wrong with the rest hour records, so he left quietly. After that, I went to the engine room. I saw a couple of engineers with completely red eyes and walking like zombies. So I asked him, what is wrong? Have you drunk enough of whiskey or beer or vodka? What happened? He said, no, sir, we are very tired. I said, you're tired, but your rest hour record is fabulous. You have been rested very properly. I said, sir, we have 2 generators down. We have been working overtime. Last 3 days we have been struggling. So the point here is, are the PSC inspectors or the managers or the operators really worried about the rest hour? Or they are just looking at the paper? If the paper satisfies their requirements, that's all they are happy with. I mean, this notion has to change. This approach has to change. I went on another vessel. The ship was plying between Singapore and Pasir Gudang, chemical tanker. Do you think they will ever have a rest hour compliance? But then they never had any deficiency about this one. There's a serious gap about this. I mean, it is time we look at it and approach them sincerely. If the people are not rested properly, they do need to have a rest, not only prepare a document. About the seafarer access to shore, I remember when I was a cadet, the last line is made fast and half the people are ashore. Today, if I go on board a ship, recently I went, I met the gangway watchkeeper. I asked him, how many months you have been here? He said, 8 months, sir. I said, how many times you have gone ashore? Never, sir. Why? Sir, if I go, I'll be off duty. When I come back, I have to be on duty. If I do that, my rest hour requirements will never be met. This is what industry has done to our people. People talked about COVID time and the effect on mental health of seafarers. In one of the ports, the PSC officer detained the vessel. The reason? The seafarer could not go ashore for a long time during the COVID period. So we went up to the inspectors and asked, okay, we'll allow them to go ashore. Please arrange their shore leave. They said, no, not in our country, the next port. Because they don't want their people to be infected with COVID. Our crew was very healthy. They had no problem whatsoever. The medical records were good, but they could not go ashore. So again, there's a bias. This is a big challenge for the seafarers. Who is thinking about it? This data shows there's a growing on decline on the seafarers stepping ashore. These are some of the reasons. There could be many, many more. I mean, we don't have time today to discuss, but there's something to look at. Then there are inspections. I mean, from the time I started sailing till today, I mean, there's a huge, huge jump in the number of inspections. Everybody wants to inspect the vessel, whether it is the operator or the OCIMF, right ship, in-house inspections, PSC, flag state, class, and they all have varying standards. They all have their own checklists. What does the crew do? So many of the requirements they have to comply with very, very minimal support. The inspectors at times are intimidating, harassing, and always keen on finding faults and never supportive. I think the idea of inspection was to make sure that the ship is plying safely, the crew is safe, but now it is only on finding faults, small faults. Like now the wind is 40 kilometers per hour, but you have written something else. Is this the standard of inspection we were looking for? I think the motive was correct when we decided to have these checklists or inspections, but the end result has gone haywire. The documentation, well, again, I can't really go on speaking about it. Everybody knows there is a huge pile of documents that the seafarer has to do. IMO, on their part, they made a lot of regulations. For example, FAL Convention, but is it followed? Never. I mean, every port demands some set of documents. Within one country, different ports have different requirements. So imagine the workload on the people that documentations have posed. The regulations, as I said, there are far too many. If I have to look at some of the regulations, the excessive amount of regulations that are there. So this particular part of the ballast regulation showed me about 46 regulations alone for one topic. Out of them, half of it relates directly to the ship staff. So in essence, IMO wants the ship staff to have a PhD on ballast regulation, same time have safe operation with the safe manning that we discussed, and then complete the documentations as well. Okay, I'll give you one small example about the complexity of regulations also. Let us read through only the last line. It is about the steering gear compartment. The arrangement shall include handrails and gratings or other non-slip surfaces to ensure suitable working conditions. So you may wonder, I mean, why am I raising this particular sentence here? You might find this so damn simple. What has gone wrong with this captain? So the point I will raise here, there could be multiple interpretations of this very, very simple line. What do they want us to have? Handrails and gratings? Or handrails and non-slip surface? Or only non-slip surface without rails and gratings? I mean, this could be one of the simplest examples of different interpretations which crew could have. I mean, there are numerous examples where the regulations are written in so vague manner and in such ambiguous method that it is extremely difficult for ship staff to decipher. Why the IMO or other regulatory bodies don't write simple regulations, which is easy to understand for the ship staff, which will ensure the compliance? On that note, I would just add one small video here about the interpretation.
Yo, Brooke, what's it like?
It's cold and refreshing.
To me, this is what IMO has done with their regulations to us. Well, I think it is time for everybody to come out of this light note and take a serious note again of welfare reality that we have on board. I mean, we say that people have been given a lot of rights, a lot of facilities on board, but is it really nice? I would go back again to my sailing days. When I had minimum of equipment, I felt safe. I had beer on board, I felt happy. Today I have too many equipments, no beer, and we want people to be happy. So that's the end of my presentation. I think it is time to introspect for everyone who is involved in ship safety, and that's how I bow out today. Thank you.